we are on week 2 of CRJ 33AZ1. This is the week of ethics. It's one of my favorite weeks to do in research methods. And the reason being is because there's so many components of it that really does it make it a good research method, or does it not make it a good research method? What are the things that fall into play? How do you get people to tell you the truth? How do you get to find the truth? How do you know what is the truth? When we look at research and statistical data, we often think of numbers, sampling size, and predicting outcome. While these may be some fundamental aspects of data collection, the area of ethics is also vitally important to all forms of research. In the world of criminal justice, ethical challenges can be more prevalent because of the research often addresses illegal behavior that people may not be willing to share. So think about that. Think about one of the biggest studies that was done down in Connecticut had to do with sex offenders. Can you imagine going into general pop, or even population general pop is called that, general population, and finding a group of people that want to talk about how they've sexually molested children or older people or other women or other men? I mean, do you see them willingly giving up information? And what would motivate them to give information? We also see what did they use to talk them into this, or what did they use for the government used to entice them. So during this week's module, you explore some of these ethical challenges and some of the policies and practices that help govern criminal justice research. And I know that I'm hoping that it's an interesting week for you because it makes you think, how did they find that out? Where did they? Now, if you go to the Department of Justice or the Office for Juvenile Justice or any of the federal government sites that the FBI, they all use their own sources. Where did they get that information? So one of the things I think of all the time is the FBI is the catchment area for all homicides or shootings that happen. But in Massachusetts, who reports that? Is it the local police department or is it the state police? Because they're both separate. Same thing down in almost every state you have many different law enforcement. You have sheriffs and you have state police and you have local police. Are we doing a triple amount of reports, or is it all, coming down to one? Where is that information coming from, and how are they gathering it? I also thought of another thing this week. There was our jury gets an awful lot of information, but they also don't get a lot of information, and some of it is how they get it is tainted or not tainted, any way you look at it. And I thought of Whitey Bulger this week. Whitey Bulger this week, his case went to court. And he was found guilty because, quite frankly, he was guilty. I was very lucky. I got to sit in on the Whitey Bulger trial, which probably was one of the more fascinating parts of my career. And so Whitey Bulger was found guilty. And just this week, a juror says she regrets the murder conviction. And she regrets the murder conviction because the CIA did a study using LSD without his consent for many years. And so Whitey Bulger was put on LSD for many, many years. And they tested him and they did their survey and they did their research on him. Was this the cause of him being so brutally vicious to people? What was the story with that? What made him go out on a killing spree? Personally, I think he was just evil. And we look at that. So everything we have for research, you have to ask yourself, where did it come from? What's the wording on it? Is the wording skewed? Our modules this week has some great discussion points. And we're going to go to week 2. Remember that you have to have these in by Thursday. And Thursday is 11:59. So the Stanford Prison Experiment. I want you to look at that. You have that. It's a quiet rage. And was it ethical to do this study? Was it right to trade the suffering experienced by participants for the knowledge gained by the research? Consider the principles of research ethics in your response. I have found over the years there's many, many research projects that have been done by the criminal justice which were not really overseen very well, that were pretty disturbing, especially having to do with the jails. They use the jails as their area that they could have unlimited amount of sources to use. So I want you to look at this. Make sure that you do not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 responses so you get the full amount on your responses. and a 250-word discussion. You have until Saturday to do the responses on that. Your paper, let's go to that. Is the current status of Code of Professional Ethics governing the conduct of criminal justice research. What are the issues associated with confidentiality and subjects in criminal justice research? How do we protect our peeps? How do we protect the people that we're going to talk to? Think about that. I mean, are we subjecting them to being in danger? Are we subjecting them to be people thinking that they're receiving bias? So take a look at all of that. If you have any problems, make sure you call me or text me. Remember, you have to have a minimum of 2 sources. All right, a minimum of 2 sources. So if you have any questions, feel free to call 413-883-3537. I'm going to be also not assigning, but I'm going to be attaching to this video the 2 PowerPoints for week 2, or not week 2, chapter 2 and chapter 3. I hope this helps you. I hope it helps you understand these chapters a little better. Best of luck to you all.